It was a star-studded carpet in Los Angeles, all celebrating the boys in the boat. We talked with director George Clooney and the rest of the cast. I was going to say, when I watched this film, I loved it. Favorite of the year.
We talked about it, yes.
Yes, and I will tell you that one of the things that reminds me of the film and you is the boat maker. He takes such care, such precision, such pride in his work, but then has to hand it over for the guys to ride, right? Same with the films, when you direct them. Talk to me about that, the care and what...
I worry about these knuckleheads over here doing it right. No, listen, I'm very lucky. I get to work in a profession that I love, and I get to work with people that I adore. And all you have to do is sort of surround yourself with the best and then try not to screw it up. And that was all I had to do. That was the easiest part for me.
What about when it comes to like the coach's decision to take that risk and a huge reward?
I mean,
yes.
You remember that he did that during the Depression. I mean, if they lose, he loses his job. It's a big deal. So
I thought that you did such a fantastic job. Even going back, it reminded me of your Warrior days, this intensity that you had, that you brought to the role. Talk to me about how you approach taking on a character like that.
Well, look, Warrior was a different sort of bag for me. You know, the equivalent of Warrior for me was what these boys went through, the months of training to go on the boat. I got to stand, off to the side and just wear a suit and a nice hat. And look unhappy, and
that would be challenging for you. You're always happy.
But look, there is challenges in everything, and but not the weight of the physical challenge these guys had to go through. And I'm not going to pretend that I had to do anything extraordinarily. I didn't have to squeeze my body through the head of a squash racket to to play this role. But there is detail and challenge in everything, and I found it really interesting on a couple of levels. But one of the things actually was leaning into the charm of an old school Hollywood movie and embracing the rhythms of that stuff, and that was a bit of a challenge.
A mentor or a coach that you had, or could that be George on this film?
Yeah, I mean, look, there's a number of people in my life that I look back on and think, if it weren't for you, you know what I mean? If it weren't for you, I would have steered me in this direction or pulled me back from doing something dumb, usually, like my dad. My old art teacher, who's now no longer with us. These people that, I reckon we've all got a bag of names, right? You go, this person did this for me. And all of them have navigated your path to where you're standing today. And every now and then you think of them and you're like, it did me right. Even though, and I think it's because they had you in mind, you know what I mean?
I loved your character because she was just such a breath of fresh air. She was pure joy. Talk to me about channeling that, especially, amongst all these guys who are just trying to survive.
Oh my gosh, great question. They made it really easy for me. These guys are so great just as human beings and as artists, and they kind of brought it out, I mean, it makes it easy when you have a cast like that around you.
You're announcing the team today. Are you going to make it?
How did you and Callum decide, work on our chemistry? What is this going to look like?
We got to know each other a little bit before shooting, and I think just being comfortable with each other, then we were able to really ease into it. And I think it's all about safety at the end of the day, and he made me feel so safe, and I hopefully did the same for him. Yeah.
Show him what's in this book.
Your character stole it from me. He was fantastic. Not only was he the leader, but he was the cheerleader, and he also, some of those one-liners, I was like, did you go rogue, or was that all on page?
I did go rogue sometimes. I had to, because in the course of a race, you're basically just shouting the entire time. So there was a lot of improv. But Mark, the writer, gave me beautiful words to say, and Bobby Mock himself was a compelling character from history, and so it's a credit to the writers and to the real people.
Was there a time in your life where you just thought, man, to tackle this is going to be so challenging, but I'm going to do it, and in the end, it paid off in dividends?
I think maybe the choice to move from my home in Colorado to New York City to try to pursue a career as an actor, and all the little side hustles I've had along the way, all the bartending, all the hors d'oeuvres I've passed, I was a tour guide on the double-decker bus, but just the hubris to go for it, and then to finally be standing here talking to you, it's a dream come true. It paid off.
8-man crew is the most difficult team sport in the world.
Were there any little tricks that helped you bond, or was there anything that you guys did together to like ensure like success?
I think really it's like up to the individual how much of themselves they are going to bring to the team, and I was so lucky with this group of boys that every single person gave it their all and put their hearts on the line and left absolutely everything in that boat. And as a result, I think the performances are so much better for it. There's a real bond of friendship and trust and brotherly love that I think sort of is in the film. And it's a very human story. You know, I love the way the film handles everything. It handles the love story, it handles the politics, it handles the socio-economics, and at the same time, it just makes you love and care for these people that are doing this impossible thing. Like, the more we learned about rowing and the more we practiced rowing and the more we tried to get good at this sport, the more it seemed like we were never going to be able to live up to what these guys did. No matter, but to be honest, I think the thing that made the most difference over that experience were the real rowers. It was the college level rowers in England and the coaches that volunteered their own time to be with us and to work hard and sweat. And they were the reason that we were able to advance as fast as we could and learn as much as we could, you know, in that short amount of time.
What an incredible night for you to go from the story to book to now on screen. Talk to me about what it feels to see this come full circle.
Yeah, well, I mean, I'm filled with gratitude for one thing. You know, there's a lot of great writers out there, a lot of great books that don't make it onto the big screen, especially these days. So I'm just really grateful that it happened in the first place. And I'm even more grateful that it turned out very much the way I hoped it would turn out. I'm really excited for people to see it. It's a version of the story that I think people will enjoy a great deal.
You know, I know that the book had been optioned early on, but then to have it finally fall in George Clooney's lap, what was that phone call like when you got it?
Yeah, so I don't remember. I think probably my agent had told me that Clooney was going to direct, but then George actually called me a few days after that, and that was a great thing. I mean, first of all, I didn't expect him to do that. You don't get a phone call from George Clooney every day. So that was a thrill, of course. But the main thing was, in that conversation, it was very clear to me right away that he had not only read the book, but really understood the essence of the story. So that made me feel good. And then he started talking about how, as a kid, he grew up relatively poor in Kentucky. I mean, he was cutting tobacco out in fields and things like that. And he talked about how that gave him a sense of empathy for Joe Rance, the principal character, and really all those boys in the boat, because they were all relatively poor kids. And the more he talked about that, the more I realized, okay, this guy really does get it. And I don't know exactly what the movie's going to look like, but he's going to get the heart of the story. So I was thrilled by that.